All right, so let's get started here. Looks we have a couple people who are joining us live, and we have a few people who may be a few minutes late, but we'll just go ahead and we will get started with everything. So thanks everyone for joining us today. This is, I think, the third installment of our summer workshop series. And so far, we've talked about identifying your target audience as well as clarifying your brand message. Today, we're going to be talking about creating an effective call to action. Now, I'm going to use the word call to action or CTA throughout the presentation. They both mean the same thing. And basically, this is what we want our customer or client to do in order to get in contact with our firm. So typically, you'll see something like schedule a consultation today, something of that nature. That is what a CTA is, and that is what we're going to be trying to workshop. Now, the importance of a good CTA goes to conversions. So one thing that I really believe in with marketing is that you can be on every distribution channel possible. YouTube, you have a blog, you could have webinars, you have ebooks, you could have really good pay-per-click campaigns, Facebook ad campaigns. But if you don't have a good effective call to action, then you're going to be missing out on a lot of potential clients because people just don't know what to do. They're confused about what the next step is. So today's webinar is really to help us figure out what a good CTA looks like and make sure it's customized for you and for your law firm. So if you'll give me 1 second, I'm going to share my screen here. And we will go ahead and pull open our slide deck. All right, here we go. So a CTA, as I said, is a call to action. We want people to know exactly what to do and what they can expect when they follow the call to action. The goal is to make your CTA simple, easy to understand, and actionable. Now, I'm going to give you a list of really bad CTAs that I've seen across, all the law firm websites that we've worked with, and I'm going to show you some good examples as well. But what I want to do is take a step back and kind of deconstruct what makes a CTA powerful and how you can implement that in your practice. So there's two different types of CTAs. A lot of times we think about that direct CTA, which is going to be the call us today or fill out this form or chat us here, right? We want that direct call to action where we are calling people to submit a form or to pick up the phone and call us and have that direct interaction with our firm. Now, not everyone's going to be ready to do that. They're not going to be ready to jump into a relationship or have a conversation about whatever it is that they're going through. So we have what's called a transitional CTA. That's going to be like our secondary CTA. Transitional CTA is something that we can do in order to foster a relationship with the lead and then present them with the direct CTA. So transitional CTAs are look a lot like downloading an ebook or watching a webinar. It could be something like getting a PDF checklist or filling out a quiz or some sort of like online assessment form. These are kind of the first steps someone may take in creating a relationship with a law firm. So today we're going to be talking about both direct and transitional. First, let's talk about your direct call to action. So we want to call your audience to action. We want them to do something when they're on your website or when they're interacting with some sort of like marketing collateral that you have. So you want to tell people exactly what they need to do to get started. You want to make it as simple as possible for them to take that action. And you want to connect the call to action with a successful outcome. We'll talk about that here in just a second. So the other thing that we want to do is we want to be able to provide a plan. So when someone follows this call to action, what is going to be the next step and like what's in it for them, right? So if you tell someone just to call us today and they don't know what's on the other end of that call, it could be an hour-long phone call, it could be a paid consultation, they don't know, they're probably not going to make that phone call. But if we can explicitly tell them who they're going to be talking to and what they can expect, it's going to break down that barrier to entry and they're going to feel a lot more comfortable making that call. So we want to, number one, tell people exactly what to expect when they follow the call to action. We want to make sure that we're solving problems or anticipating objections prior to them calling. So that could be like pricing, it could be timing, it could be just general anxiousness about contacting an attorney. Number three, we want to talk about the people, the processes, the tools, the time, and the costs involved. So again, we're breaking down that barrier. We're demystifying the process. And then we want to show people how when they call us, they are going to achieve some sort of desired outcome, right? And then we want to cause them to believe in the likelihood of that outcome. So first thing we want to do is we want to define success. We went over this in a previous workshop, but I think it's really important to kind of bring it back here as we're talking about CTAs. So again, we want to sell the vacation, not the flight. And basically what that means is people don't want to talk to a lawyer. They don't want to talk to an intake specialist. What they want is to get their questions answered, right? So we want to talk about how this, following the CTA is going to help them achieve their goals and also really understand what's in it for them, right? So if they are going to have those questions answered, we want to make sure that we explain that to them. It could be that you're going to take the first step in helping them. It could be, putting a stop to debt collections or something like that. There could be something that's tied to following through that call to action. We also want to focus on the benefits, not necessarily the features. So I did mention that we want to talk about like who they're going to be talking to and how they'll be communicating with them. But we do want to explain the benefits. So, you're going to be talking to our intake specialist. This person has been trained to assess your needs and can make sure that you get the appropriate care and attention that you deserve. We also want to show them what life's going to look like after the call. So in this example here on the slide, we're talking about life after representation, but just talk about like what 15 minutes is going to look like. I think Geico's got the perfect example of this, where it's 15 minutes or more can save you 15% or more on car insurance. Think about that when you're developing your CTA. So like what's going to happen when someone gets off the phone or they exchange emails with your firm? What are they going to learn? What's going to help them move forward and what's going to help them accomplish their objective? The other thing that we can talk about is failure. And, I hate being negative. I'm a very positive person, but I think it's really important to spell this out, which is, if you don't take action now, the statute of limitations may lapse. It may be too late to take action. The other attorneys or the opposing party, they're already working on the case. We want to get working on it as soon as possible. So we want to make sure that we are explaining that as well. Again, these ideas can be applied to pretty much any sort of marketing message, but especially with a call to action, we want to make sure that we're kind of incorporating some things that are going to help people feel like you're able to help them, and it's really not a huge deal for them. It's going to be something that's like kind of low barrier to entry. So I love this idea of eliminating risk, having a free consultation. For criminal defense or family law, let's say that you do have a paid consultation, maybe you apply that consultation fee to the cost of representation. With business, just being flat fee, upfront pricing, maybe even showing that on your website. That way people know what to expect when they call. And that way there's no surprises there and they feel comfortable making that call. We also can enhance the offer. So talk about limited number of clients, statute of limitations, creating some sort of urgency, having a bonus where you're waiving the consultation fee. Of course, we can't guarantee outcomes in legal, but we can have a guarantee in the sense of like a contingency fee. So like no fee unless we win. One thing that I think is really unique with some firms that we work with is naming the offer or having like a branded CTA, right? So if you have just like schedule a consultation today on your website, that could be the same CTA that the other attorney right down the street has. And there's really nothing there that differentiates it. So think about how you can incorporate your brand into your CTA and really make it unique for your firm. Here are just a few examples. Instead of a free consultation, maybe it's a free 15-minute DUI strategy call. So it's a strategy call with one of our attorneys. We're going to patch you through to one of our DUI attorneys. They're going to ask you a couple questions, and they're going to help develop a strategy for tackling your particular DUI. I love this one. This is a friend of ours who does a trademark course. Rather than saying online, sign up for our online trademark course, and say, sign up today for 2 weeks of trademarks. Again, it's branded. It clearly articulates like the timeline that's involved in this course. And it also kind of creates a sense of urgency. It's like, hey, in 2 weeks, I'll be up to speed on this particular topic. And then for us, one of the things that we did is we transitioned from having a sales call, which Nobody wants to sign up for a sales call, to a free 1 hour video marketing consultation. So they know that we're going to be meeting for an hour. They know that we're going to be meeting by video, and they know that it's going to be a marketing consultation rather than a strict sales call. So again, we're just branding it, we're naming it, we're providing a little bit of differentiation, but we're being more explicit in terms of what we're going to offer in that call to action. So let's talk about some bad CTA examples. Contact us. I'm sure that you've seen this on a ton of business websites, and maybe even have this on your website. It's important to have something like a contact page on your site, but when it comes to a CTA, the last thing we want to do is just say contact us. If I'm the prospective client, I'm thinking, why should I contact you? What's in it for me? What am I supposed to expect when I contact you? Like, am I going to get an email in 24 hours? Am I going to get an email a week later? Am I going to be talking to an attorney? Will I be talking to someone at the front desk? What is this initial relationship going to look like? So contact us tends to fall a little bit flat. And even though it's kind of shorthand for like, hey, just, pick up the phone and give us a call. Someone will be here to take your call. I think you can do a little bit better of a job and be a little bit more explicit in your call to action. Learn more. So I see this quite a bit, even for, let's say, a personal injury attorney that wants people to contact them just to learn more about their case. Unless this is going to be tied to a piece of informational content, this really should not be used as a CTA. Even then, we can say something more like, learn more about our team, learn more about car accidents in Wisconsin, learn more about filing for trademarks. So we can be a little bit more explicit, and that way people know what's on the other end of that call to action. Call today. So just like contact us, call today is fairly vague. Who are we calling? What are we going to get out of that? How long is that phone call going to be? Am I going to pay for this call, or is this going to be a free call? And so I think, again, just being a little bit more explicit as to who you're calling, who's going to be on the other end of the line, and like what's in it for them is going to be helpful. Start here. Again, I love this when we're talking about starting a client journey, but this may be more appropriate for like text on a button, not necessarily like a header, right? So instead of saying start here, you can say start, your journey to recovery here. Start your business journey here. Start, your divorce here. Something like that, where we're just a little bit more explicit. So we're not like I said, this is really simple, but we're not overcomplicating it either. We just want to make sure that we are explicit and we're telling people exactly what to expect on the other end. So what are some good CTA examples? So schedule a free 15-minute case evaluation. Now, this isn't branded, but it is descriptive and it's very explicit in terms of what someone can expect. So they aren't going to be talking to someone on the phone. They aren't going to necessarily get an immediate email back. But when they submit a form or they call the firm, it's not to get the consultation, it's to schedule a free consultation. And they also know that scheduling it is not going to cost them anything. And they also know that the consultation won't cost anything. They also know that it's going to be 15 minutes. So it's not going to be something that we're going to have to carve out an entire afternoon for. It's something that they could put on their calendar for their lunch hour. Download our free ebook today. So this is a good example of a transitional call to action. So rather than like download now, we're talking about what the information is. It's an ebook. We can see that it's free, and there's like zero obligation for it. And then today, we're providing that sense of urgency to that call to action. Same thing here. I mean, this is one that we've been using recently. Register for our next, webinar on whatever topic it is. Again, we don't want to just say webinar. Maybe we explain what's involved in the webinar and what people are going to learn during that webinar. But it's better than just, register today, right? I love this one. So complete our new client intake form to get started. So rather than saying get started, or start now, we're bringing that kind of concept into here, and we're telling people exactly what we want them to do. So not everyone's going to want to fill out an intake form, but that's going to help you weed out bad leads and unqualified leads, especially depending on the type of practice that you have. So having a new client intake form is a great kind of stepping stone for someone. They can fill this out and they can kind of self-qualify as they're going through that form. Schedule a legal strategy call using our calendar. So again, we're talking about kind of branding this as like a legal strategy call. You could insert like your law firm's name, for example. We're telling people that it's going to be more of a strategy call rather than just like a Q&A. And we're telling them that we want them to use our calendar to schedule the call. So again, we're not asking them to fill out a form or to call the firm cold. We're asking them to schedule a time. And so it's that one step closer to that consultation, and people feel a little bit more comfortable with that, just knowing exactly what to expect. So again, the goal is to make your CTA simple, easy to understand, and actionable. I've come up with a few action items to share with you. And basically just kind of going through these 5 steps, you can really start to develop a good call to action for your firm. Now, I want to kind of take one step back real quick, because I think there may be confusion about like what the CTA is and where it goes on the website and like what it should look like. You will have buttons on your website that will say like contact us today, but the call to action should accompany the button, right? So you need to have something there that explains what that button does and how, like why you want someone to click that button or to follow that action. So step 1, what do you want people to do? Do you want people to call your office, to use a form, to use an online calendar, to use an online chat? Do you want them to download an ebook or watch a webinar first? Then you want to tell people how they will do this. So click the button below to call, or use the form below to get in touch. Use the calendar below to schedule a time to talk. Tell people what to expect. When you call our office, you're going to speak with our intake team about your case. When you schedule this, you're going to be speaking with an attorney who can give you an evaluation of your case. Tell people what the benefits are of following the CTA. So, for example, you can say, receive a free 15-minute case evaluation to see if you're entitled to compensation. So you're going to be able to learn whether or not you have a good case and that you are entitled to compensation. And it doesn't have to be something so specific either. It can just say, if you want to learn more about your situation, have your questions answered, put your mind at ease, call us today. We can help you through those initial questions and make sure that you feel good about what the next steps are. And then you want to kind of figure out how following the CTA will help the client accomplish their goal. So remember, you want to sell the vacation, not the flight. They aren't wanting to call a law firm, but what they want are answers to their questions. They want to solve their problem. So figure out what their problem is and show them how following the CTA is going to help them solve that problem. So I have a fun kind of like activity for you. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about how can you leverage AI for your marketing or for your law firm, using AI to create CTAs is like such a slam dunk. I love using ChatGPT just to generate some new ideas as we're working with clients and as we're trying to figure out how we want to articulate what we want people to do. So I have 3 prompts for you here, and you can modify these as you go along. I kept them fairly short and sweet, but basically we're going to use these 3 prompts to create a really solid call to action. So prompt 1 is create a client avatar for an individual living in whichever city you are in, who is experiencing a divorce or a car accident and is in need of an attorney. And you're going to get a great client avatar from ChatGPT that kind of gives you like where they live, like what car they drive, where they shop, that sort of thing. Once you have that answer, go into prompt 2. Say, create a list of problems that this individual is experiencing as a result of the legal issue. And that's going to list out, maybe 5 to 10 different problems this person is experiencing. And then prompt 3, explain how your law firm can solve these problems and write a powerful call to action that asks the individual to contact the law firm for an initial consultation or whatever it may be. And ChatGPT will spit out, something that will really be more aligned with what we're talking about today, which is having something that ties back to that specific client, as well as that client's specific set of problems. And that CTA is going to be directly related to it. I wouldn't necessarily copy and paste that into your website or onto Facebook ad, but it's a great way to generate some new ideas, especially if you're just trying to get started and you're stuck kind of trying to figure out what that next step looks like. So I sent out a worksheet for everyone prior to the webinar, but I'm going to go ahead and drop it into our chat here, just in case you guys are looking for it. 1 second, I'll grab this file. All right. Now, while that's uploading, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen again. And I'm going to pull this open for us. So this is a really simple worksheet that can really help you get started with creating a good CTA. So this is an exercise that we walk some of our clients through when we're building out their website, and it really helps us determine how we're going to articulate what we want people to do once they come onto the site. So first thing first, how do you want to be contacted? Do you want this to be a phone call? Do you want this to be a form completion, a combination of the two? Or is it something like filling out a calendar? So we want to make sure that we understand what that contact method is. And we want to have a system in place on the back end for responding to that phone call or that form completion. We also want to know whether it's free or paid. So are we going to advertise this as a free consultation or a paid consultation? If it's paid, maybe we brand it and we talk about it being like a strategy call, and they're going to leave with, a packet of information that's going to help them take the next step. We also want to write out what's going to happen when they contact you. So will they talk to an intake specialist? Will they talk to an attorney? Will they schedule a consultation, or will they jump straight into the consultation then? Who will they speak to? So again, intake specialist, receptionist, an attorney, a paralegal. Who is it that they're going to be communicating with once they contact the firm? We also want them to know what they're going to learn on the first call. So maybe bullet point out 3 things that they're going to learn, in terms of representation through your firm. Are they going to learn about the next step, in a personal injury case? Are they going to learn about their rights, as an employee that's been discriminated against? So kind of list that out for them. And that way they know exactly what they're going to learn, and they'll know what's in it for them. And then you also want to write down what's going to help them accomplish their goals. So think about 3 things that someone's trying to accomplish by having this initial consultation, and write those out and explain how following the call to action is going to help them accomplish those 3 goals. And then finally, write out your direct call to action. So this is where you can get a little bit fun. You can use ChatGPT. You can brainstorm with friends and colleagues. Think about branding this a little bit. Just get a little bit more creative, and don't settle on contact us today. Write this out. Make sure that it's explicit in terms of what people can expect. Make sure that it's clearly articulating all the things that we've been talking about, and that's going to be something that's going to be in service of the person who is reaching out to you. So that is it for the presentation. I think we have a few more minutes. I'd love to open it up to any questions that you may have. And yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, Abigail. Mello, do you have any questions? Awesome. So Mello asked, how would you troubleshoot a website to make sure that everything is covered? So I would first look at CTA placement. So disregard the messaging right now and just think about like where the CTAs are. You want to make sure that when someone comes on your website that you have at least 2 calls to action on the first frame of the website, what we call above the fold. And what I look for is a phone number or something clickable in the top right-hand corner of the website. And I also look for a button or some sort of form on that first frame. So if you're missing a button in either one of those locations, I would look to add that onto your website. There are some clients that we work with that don't want that, right? Because they are B2B and they don't want to necessarily have a lot of people contacting them, and it's more of like a bookmark. But for the majority of law firms, they want more people to contact them. So we want to make sure that we have really clear calls to action above the fold. Now, if you have a direct call to action and a transitional call to action, you get bonus points. So I love having something like contact us today, or schedule a consultation, like that be your direct call to action. And I love having like an ebook or a webinar or some sort of like white paper, something like that as like our transitional call to action right next to it. That way, when someone comes right onto your website, they can quickly decide whether or not they're going to just click over to contact you, or they're going to initiate the relationship in some other way. So I would always look there, and I'd always look for other areas on the homepage and internally too. You want to make sure that's really easy for someone to contact you. And the last thing you want is for the only CTA on your site to live on your contact us page. So just structurally, just making sure that you have different ways for someone to contact you through the homepage, as well as like on every page is really important. Similarly, like the footer. So making sure you have like a clear button or phone number or something like that someone can click through to get to your firm. That will be, on every single website, every single web page as well. I'd also look at forms too. So do you have a form on just your contact page, or do you have a form on all the other pages throughout the site? You don't necessarily have to, but I think having a button taking you to the form is really important. Now, in terms of the copy itself, you can have like specific sections on your website that are dedicated to the CTA. So for example, like your CTA could live at the bottom of each page, and it could kind of be replicated throughout the site. Your CTA could also be threaded within the copy itself. So I love the idea of having like, I mean, everyone here is familiar with IRAC forms. So, issue, rule, analysis, conclusion. In copywriting, there's something called the AIDA framework. It's attention, interest, desire, action. And there's also PAS, or problem, agitate, solution. So just for the sake of like simplicity, problem, agitate, solution, you're listing out what the client's problem is. You're agitating it by, kind of pressing your finger down on what those problems are and what they mean for that client. And then you're presenting the solution to them. And then right below that, you have your call to action, right? So you're essentially threading that through the copy on your page as well. That could be on your homepage, it could be your about page, it could be your service pages, whatever it may be. But you're able to thread in that type of language, and that can be distinct from, like, let's say, just the form or just the buttons. Does that help answer your question? Awesome. Great. Well, if that's it, then I will let you guys go. It's been an absolute pleasure. So for those of you who are not able to join, if you have any questions, you can always email us. My email is tyler.roberts@nomusmarketing.com, and you can go on to nomusmarketing.com to learn more about us and schedule a free 30-minute video marketing consultation. We'd love to speak with you and just see how we can help. Thanks, and everyone have a good weekend.